Good evening. Welcome to episode 84. Wow, damn. We're getting up there, y'all. Episode 84 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful, cool, comfortable, and somewhat fall-like conditions of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. Hopping right into this episode, guys. This episode will be obviously dedicated to the Bird Gang. Fly Eagles Fly. This episode is going to be the Week 7 Eagles recap of the game against the Giants. I took my time, guys. As y'all saw, I've kind of flooded the weekend with videos and then kind of fell back past day or two. I did supply some shorts. I do appreciate the love. And the new subscribers, welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. I hope that I deliver the experience that you guys are looking for and the content that you're looking for. But nonetheless, getting right into it with this episode with the Giants and the Eagles. Obviously, the Eagles, great win, 28-3. Wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Still some things to definitely clean up. But finally, for the first time in a long while, it wasn't a football game for full quarters. It was a football game for possibly two quarters. And then, things ran their course. Obviously, I'm going to touch on Saquon's return back to the Meadowlands and his performance. But you know, not even mincing words. We're gonna start right there. That performance was nothing short of a masterclass. Saquon went the fuck off on the New York Football Giants. It was beautiful. And when I say beautiful, I don't mean beautiful just in the aspect of he made some plays and he looked flashy doing it. It was dominant. I mean, make no mistake about it. Like I said, there's some things about the offense that I want to touch on. I'm going to touch on this episode, but it wasn't perfect. But it just seemed like early on he had 6 carries for 23 yards, and you just saw, you knew like it's coming. That explosive play is coming. It's coming. And as soon as it happened, he broke that 50-yard gain, 53 or 55-yard gain up the seam. That was just a football game. I mean, it sounds easy to say that, like, oh no, there's a lot more to it, but I can literally tell you that was the difference in what changed the game. Saquon's been the difference for this Philadelphia Eagles team the whole season. He was the difference in New Orleans. He was the difference in Sao Paulo against Green Bay. He was the difference against New Orleans. He was the difference in this game. I mean, he's had one of the greatest years ever. I mean, I think there was a stat that was posted. And if anyone, like I said, anyone watched the show, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe I'll post this in the credits if I'm wrong. But I do believe Saquon Barkley has rushed for the most rushing yards by any Eagles running back all time within the first 6 games. So that just lets you know the type of tear, the historic pace that he's on. 17 carries, 177 yards, averaged 10.4 per carry, which is insane. He had a chance to even go for 200. And I love the fact that he let his guys eat. Sirianni gave him a chance to, get more yards, and he said, nope, I'm going to let the guys eat, and it's going to be more for that. It's going to be big opportunities and more to come down the line. So I appreciate the fact that he did that. It's smart on his part. Save your body. But he whooped their ass. There was a lot of regret going around that stadium. I also want to definitely touch on Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was solid, but I definitely would be remiss if I don't touch on a few of the throws. Two of them that stuck out to me the most. For as much as Jalen has grown as a quarterback, and I like what I see, don't get me wrong, I think he's definitely grown. The issue that I have at times is he doesn't take what's there. Sometimes he goes for the gusto when he should take the 5-yarder. And that's the difference sometimes between the good quarterbacks and the great quarterbacks and the elite, as you go up your tiers. There was an obvious play where he had Devontae Smith going across the middle of the field. missed him wide open. Didn't even throw it to him. I mean, he had him. I mean, Smitty catches that ball, he's up the seam, and nobody's catching him. There was a play where he had Saquon. I want to say it was his third quarter. No, it was third quarter. Middle of later third quarter where he had Saquon open on a wheel route. And Saquon literally is just running open. And, I guess maybe the lineman got up, the D lineman got up, so he didn't see him. He went to a different, progression within his route. But either way, those are bad reads. You got to make those reads. Those are reads that, again, that's the reads that's going to be the difference in this team winning in January or losing, or making it to January or not. That's the difference. So, against the Giants, that's not going to get missed because the Giants are just a bad fucking football team. I mean, there's no stretch of the imagination when I say this. They're good, very much like I stated on a previous episode. Very good on defense as far as sacks. Coverage wise, a lot to be missed, a lot to be desired, I should say. Can't run the ball. Damn sure don't trust your quarterback. So yeah, but when you're playing elite teams, that's the difference between winning championships and losing them. Taking what's there sometimes instead of going for the gusto. And listen, don't get me wrong. This is still the same guy who connected on a 4th and 3 on a deep ball and scored. So, shout out to Jalen for that. Like I said, ultimately clean game. He was 10 of 14, 114 yards, 1 touchdown. Didn't really have to throw that much because the running game was just excellent. But this is the formula. This is the formula for Philadelphia. I don't know why they kind of bullshit this, but here's the thing. If Jalen throws somewhere between 20 and 30 times and you're running it that many times, it's going to balance out because he'll make up some of those plays, rushing for certain yards. He'll get the ball out. He'll extend certain plays, and the running game will take care of the rest. I don't know why the Eagles don't really want to admit that they're a running team. I get it. You got A.J. Brown. You got Smitty. You got Dallas Goedert. You're a running football team. Your quarterback, one of his main weapons is running the football. Your running back is one of the best running backs in the league. You're a running football team. But they kind of bullshit with this. They've kind of bullshitted with this since the Doug Peterson era, which is kind of weird, but, nonetheless, state facts. And I also think, too, what I thought was also quite startling, Philly fucking sucked on 3rd down. 1 of 13? I mean, yeah, you got a 4th down conversion that goes for a touchdown. Saquon's running all over him. That's not great football. Yes, 28-3, great. Yes, you dominated them on defense. You did what you wanted on offense for the most part, but that's not cutting it. That's not cutting it in the least bit. 1 of 13 on 3rd down was horrible. So definitely got to clean a lot of shit up on offense, but definitely was happy with a lot of the things that I saw. Fred Johnson played well. I thought the offensive line played for him was good. And it wasn't like the Giants were getting sacks. The Giants were getting after some of them linemen. They were getting after them, but it seemed like once Tyler Steen got in and I don't know, it's been a little weird magic with him and Johnson this year where it's like once those guys get in and they kind of get a little bit stabilized, the team can play a little bit better. I do sense, and this is just my personal opinion when I watch the film, I do sense that Jalen is a little bit quicker to get rid of that ball when those guys are in there compared to when Mekhi Becton and Jordan Mailata was in there, but again, that goes into making better reads, making the right reads, being playing clean football, not making turnovers, but most importantly, getting the ball out of your hands when you need to. But yeah, you got to clean that shit up. 3rd down was horrible. But again, A.J. Brown is back. I mean, this man, I stated the 4th and 3 play where he scored on it earlier. I mean, just game breaker. Major difference when this man's on the field. You be a bullshitter to sit there and say like he doesn't change anything on the dynamic of the offense. A.J. Brown, since he's been back, that team has looked different. They've just looked different. The ability to get the easy yards, the ability to get the deep ball, the ability to extend plays and knowing that he can make up for it, it just makes a world of difference. And like I said, kudos to A.J. Brown for getting back healthy and playing at the level that we know he's used to playing. He had 5 receptions, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. Easily could have gone for over 100, but Saquon, again, it was Saquon's day. And, just great performance again by A.J. Brown. Highlighting again, too, another unit of the team that I think definitely hasn't gotten any credit And understandably so, because let's be honest, you haven't really looked great against good teams or average teams. So let's not act like, all of a sudden they've been elite. However, when you play bad teams, the goal is not just win, but whatever they're bad at, don't let them be good at it against you. And I think a lot of times that gets remissed or doesn't get mentioned a lot whenever you're talking about certain sides of the football. My point is the Eagles' defense. And again, I don't think it's really been harped on too much. The past 2 weeks, you've played two bad football teams. You played the Browns, you played the Giants. You've not allowed an offensive touchdown. And that's 2 consecutive weeks. You have not allowed an offensive touchdown. Now, granted, Browns struggle to score, Giants struggle to score. But that's more to the point of what I mean. If the Eagles were surrendering a whole bunch of points to these teams, then I'd be like, fuck. You got something to be worried about. But the fact that they're not, it's like, okay, those teams are legitimately bad, and the defense is definitely hitting the curve, hitting a turn. And I love how tenacious they were. I love the fact that Jalen Carter was aggressive. He had 2 sacks. I love the fact that Bryce Huff finally got in on the fucking action and got a sack. Nolan Smith got in on the action. The team itself, they played very, very sound these past couple weeks on defense, and I definitely wanted to give them credit. Getting Sidney Brown back too. He flashed. They had a play where he batted a ball away too. Looks like he's definitely got his legs and his speed back under him. It was great to see. It was definitely great to see. And one last thing about the offense too, I wanted to harp on. The rushing attack was glorious that day on Sunday. 271 rushing yards, and that was Barkley, Gainwell, and Jalen Hurts combined, and a little bit of Will Shipley. So kudos to the rushing attack. Again, they're a running football team. That's the formula. I don't understand why they try to deviate from it. You're a running football team. I know some games, teams can stop the runner, they're shutting it down. Be consistent. Have that ability to flex and switch up, but get back to it when you need to. You can't be down 24-0 like you were at Tampa, or be down big and then trying to run the ball. That's what kind of limits that. But kudos to the rushing attack. They were definitely all points on that. And also too, I mentioned Nolan Smith. Shout out to Jalix Hunt getting in on the action. He had a strip sack. Love what I'm seeing from the young guys on D. Like I said, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt. Jalix Hunt getting in and getting that strip sack was huge. Because, again, hadn't really played like that. Kind of was, whittling around on the roster, waiting for a moment. He looked good. He looked like he had bend. He looked like he had bursts to the quarterback. We'll see as the season goes along, how things play out. But, ultimately, I definitely wanted to give him a shout out. I thought he definitely flashed and showed something, and definitely Nolan Smith too. And the defense as a whole, they have to play consistently like that for this team to be in the position they want to be. Because I see how the Packers are playing. I see how the Ravens are playing. The Ravens aren't necessarily playing great, but I see how the Chiefs are playing. And I see how a lot of these defenses are playing. You have to be very sound. You have to be very fundamental at what you do. And sometimes you're going to get caught, but if you stick to your fundamentals and your keys, a lot of times, more than not, you'll make the play that you need to make. So it's going to be very important for this team to stay consistent because big challenge next week, and I'll be getting into that too. But hopping back onto the New York Giants. Something I thought was very interesting and I didn't think really got touched on a lot when I watched, various different networks and shows, which I'm glad that's why I have this show and this outlet because, whatever these guys miss or don't talk about, I'm pretty damn sure I'm talking about. Enjoying some of the red wine tonight. But anyway, the Giants quit at the end of the second quarter. And I say they quit at the end of the second quarter because if you really pay attention, and I'm going to go back to the specific play and drive, they get all the way. And one thing that's been kind of weird and sneaky about the Giants, it was kind of highlighted during the game, their 2-minute offense. They've had, before halftime, one of the best 2-minute offenses in the NFL this year. And it's weird. Like they play halves of football where they disappear, but the last 2 minutes they kind of kick up. Okay. Well, they get all the way down to the red zone. Haven't really been down to the red zone all game. Get there in the second quarter. It's 9 seconds left on the clock. And I think what is the most, for lack of better words, giant or hugest indictment against this team, going into this season in this game, you had 9 seconds left. Easily. Run another play, don't get it, go for the field goal. The fact that offensive line was playing the way they were playing, and the fact that Daniel Jones hadn't really exuded confidence in Brian Daboll, they settled for a field goal. Now, I need you to really realize another key thing. That's 2 weeks in a row in key points of the game. Against the Browns, the Eagles defense forced Kevin Stefanski late in the fourth quarter to kick a field goal. In the second quarter against the Giants, the Eagles defense holds firm in the red zone. Coach doesn't trust his opportunity or his chance, so he goes to the field goal. I like that. I like when the defense can instill fear or doubt within a coach and make him go against his better judgment. That's a good sign. I like seeing things like that. More importantly, though, Daniel Jones is ass. And they couldn't protect him, so on top of him being ass and them not being able to protect him, it was just bad. Couldn't even protect Drew Lock when the hell he got in the game. It was just fucking putrid. If you're the Giants, you got to hope for more linemen in the draft. You got to hope for some more talented playmakers because this team is just not good enough, like by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to be a long season. There's no way to shake it. There's going to be a long season. You're benching Daniel Jones in the fourth quarter. You got him talking about mad about being benched, and you got Malik Neighbors' comments. Like I said, it's going to be a long year for the Giants, and they're on Belichick watch. I know everybody wanted to put Nick Sirianni and the Eagles on Belichick watch, and I know there's still time and things to play out. But for a fact, the Giants are on Belichick watch. So, and then to add insult to injury, looking over here with the stats, they didn't pay Saquon. They kept Daniel Jones. And they replaced Saquon Barkley with, I want to make sure I'm saying the man's name right, Devin Singletary, and the backup running back Tracy Jr. Singletary had 5 carries for 18 yards. And Tracy Jr. had 6 carries for 23 yards. I don't know if you know this or not, but at one point, Saquon Barkley, and I do believe at the end of the game, Saquon Barkley had more yards than the Giants' offense. It gets to a point where somebody's going to get fired for this shit. Joe Shane's going to get fired. I don't know how you last after all this. You've made some yes, you drafted Malik Neighbors. Yes, you did. Yes, you drafted Andrew Thomas. Yes, you did. But you've also fucked us over in free agency. If you're a Giants fan, you can't feel like, oh, he's done anything to really put you in a situation to win. This team is nowhere near ready to compete. Nowhere near ready. Be that as it may, though, next week the Eagles got a very, very important game. AFC opponent will be an AFC North opponent at that. It'll be against the Cincinnati Bengals. True test, tough matchup, which I think will be good for Philadelphia. Good idea to get a gauge of where this team is really at. The game was flexed. It was originally a 4:25 game. It's now flexed to 1 p.m., so thank God for that, early game. I like early Eagles games anyway. The late games, you got to kind of watch a lot of stuff, and, sometimes those games are ass or blowouts early, so you kind of like waiting around. Kind of like watching my team early in the game, early in the day, and then watching everybody else, but nonetheless, like I said, Cincinnati Bengals are going to be the matchup next week, 1 p.m. Defense is going to have to show up. Joe Burrow is going to test them. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and them boys, they're going to test them. And it's in Cincinnati. So, like I said, definitely a true test. But that's going to wrap it up for episode 84, guys. As always, I appreciate you guys. Again, like, share, and subscribe. Ultimately, too, I want to definitely let you know, I love you guys. Thank you for always watching. Take care and enjoy your night.